Hey guys, welcome back. Here in the United States, it is Independence Day, and we celebrate our country's establishment when the forefathers signed the Declaration of Independence. And today, I wanted to take a look back at snakes in history, some of the myths, legends, and stories they are involved in. So when most people think of snakes, they think of evil immediately. And that is somewhat due to how they've been portrayed throughout history in different legends and myths. For instance, in Christian history, it's portrayed that way precisely as representing evil or temptation or lies. However, in Greece, Egypt, and in indigenous North American history, they can represent fertility, rebirth, and even immortality. So let's take a look at some of the most famous stories in history that involved snakes. One of the most famous stories involving snakes has to be that of St. Patrick. He was a 5th century Christian missionary that is famous for banishing every snake off the island of Ireland into the sea. As the story's told, he was fasting for 40 days atop a hill when at one point he was attacked by snakes. Which probably isn't true, because as we know, snakes don't attack people. But anyways, as the legend has it, he was attacked by snakes, waved his staff at the snakes, and banished them all into the sea. Now it is true to this day that Ireland does not have native snakes on the island. But it is probably more to do with the fact that it is an island surrounded by water, and they cannot go anywhere in the cold winter months that the climate of Ireland has. The reality is that the snakes were a symbol of paganism, and St. Patrick is famous for driving out pagans and bringing Christianity to the island of Ireland. Next up is the Norse mythological legend of Jorgen Munder, who is a serpent of the sea. Now, as the legend has it, Jorgen Munder was a son of Loki, one of his 3 children, and he was tossed into the sea by Odin for whatever reason, probably because he was a snake, and people just don't like snakes. The land he was banished from was Asgard, so you recognize some of these names and places from the Marvel comics or the Marvel movies you may have seen. This is the legend of Thor slaying Jorgen Munder. So Jorgen Munder, while at sea, grew until he could wrap his whole body entirely around the earth and essentially bite his own tail or grab his own tail with his mouth. It is said that once Jorgen Munder releases his tail, it would mark Ragnarok, which is the last battle that would end in the destruction of Earth. In this legend, Jorgen Munder releases his tail and he starts rolling his body across the earth, wreaking havoc everywhere. And eventually he is battled by Thor. Yes, that Thor from the Marvel comics or the Marvel movies, Avenger movies you may have seen. Thor slays Jorgen Munder with his hammer. After slaying him, he only makes it 9 paces after walking away from the battle and falls to his own death due to a venomous bite from Jorgen Munder. Now, it is said that Jorgen Munder was a serpent, but in reality, the legend has it that he's a leviathan, or which is sometimes portrayed as a serpent, but it can be portrayed as a whale. So this is somewhat lost in translation, or it is up to interpretation of whoever is reading the myth or legend. So it's possible snakes weren't even to blame for this. Jorgen Munder may have been a whale, for all we know. One I'm sure most of you have heard of is the story of Adam and Eve from the Bible, Old Testament, book of Genesis. And as the story has it, Adam and Eve were the first man and woman on earth, and they were living in the Garden of Eden, which was essentially paradise. They had everything they could ever want, ever need. They were told to leave alone the forbidden fruit. According to the story, another Leviathan, the serpent appears in the Garden of Eden and convinces Eve to eat the forbidden fruit by telling her it would give her the knowledge of God, the knowledge of good and evil. And this fruit was from the tree of knowledge. So why wouldn't you believe it? Why wouldn't you believe a snake or Leviathan slithering up and talking to you? That's not weird at all. And then telling you to eat the forbidden fruit. You eat that fruit. So once God found out about it, he was none too happy, because he said, hey, I gave you paradise and you still ate this when I said not to. So he banishes Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden, from paradise, and curses the serpent to live out his days slithering on his belly and eating the dust. I guess making them continue to slither, or I don't know if this serpent had legs prior to that. I don't know. If you know, tell me down in the comments. Anyways, he was going to continue without legs. That was his punishment. And in this one, there is a lot of debate, and it's more than likely that the serpent symbolizes the devil himself. The story of Medusa and the Gorgons. This one is from Greek mythology. A Gorgon essentially is a snake woman, or it's portrayed a lot as a woman with snakes for hair. And legend has it that if you even look at these women, you will turn to stone. That's pretty tough to battle or slay this serpent, because if you look, you gotta pretty much fight him with your eyes closed. So Medusa was the most famous of the Gorgons, and she was originally a beautiful woman and was turned into a Gorgon by Athena as punishment for having an affair, essentially, with Poseidon in Athena's temple. Bad day for Poseidon, you'd think, but I guess it just turned out to be a bad day for Medusa. Athena then, because turning Medusa from a beautiful woman into a woman whose hair is snakes, and if people look at her, they turn to stone, wasn't punishment enough, she helped the hero Perseus slay Medusa by giving him a shiny bronze shield. Perseus used the shield as a mirror and looked at the reflection of Medusa to battle her, rather than having to actually lay eyes on her, because he would turn to stone. And essentially was able to slay her by using this bronze shield. And then, if being turned from a beautiful woman into a woman with snake with hair that turns you into stone if you look at her, and then getting your head chopped off wasn't enough, they mounted her head to Perseus' shield so that he could paralyze his opponents in battle from there on out, because they would look at the head of Medusa and turn to stone. It's a pretty effective weapon, actually, but again, quite the punishment for Medusa, and I really don't see much as far as punishment for Poseidon. So kind of one-sided there. And it's just kind of extreme. I mean, talk about jealous. Anyways, if you guys like this video, let me know down in the comments. You can do more like this. There's other stories with reptiles throughout history. I hope you enjoyed this one. Please consider liking, subscribing, hitting that notification bell, and we will see you on the next one. Bye.